Hey guys, you're watching The Hungry Handgunner. I'm Nick. Now, I did touch on this subject a while ago when I was talking about sight alignment for new handgun owners, but I feel like it kind of deserved its own video. So what we're going to be talking about today is going to be red dots on guns, more specifically carry guns, things like that. Gun is clear. So this is my FN 509 Tactical. If you're interested in this gun, there's going to be a full review in the description. Be sure to check that out. And I have my Holosun 507C on here, my MRDS micro red dot sight. I have an unboxing video on that. I have not finished the full review on it, but that video will also be in the description. So when these type of optics first came out and people started putting them on handguns, I pretty much thought of them as a fad. I thought of them as unnecessary. Iron sights had worked for a very long time for a lot of people. I was skeptical, to say the least. And I feel like a lot of people still are. So I had a buddy of mine that also had a 509 Tactical way before I got mine that had a Trijicon RMR on his. He came up, I'll throw a link to that original video in the description as well. It's been over a year. He came up and let me shoot it. And I noticed while shooting the gun that it was a lot faster to use the dot. You guys may have picked up on this in other videos, but at times I struggle to shoot with both eyes open with a handgun with iron sights, I should say, on the handgun, because I started out with some bad habits, and it's always easier to learn good habits up front than try to correct bad habits later on. So as time's gone on, I have managed to get better at keeping both eyes open, but these miniature red dot sights really help out a lot. So what I thought was just a fad, or a way of flexing, or just kind of an unnecessary addition to a gun, actually does have some real world practicality. There's an instructor that is much more eloquent and knowledgeable at informing you of all this. If you'd rather watch him, I'll go ahead and drop a link to his channel and specific video. That's going to be Sage Dynamics, Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics more specifically. But the real takeaway here is that over a period of human evolution, we have always kind of focused on what we were fighting instead of what we were fighting with. So whether that's using a club, a sling, swords, spears. So everything has always been threat focused up until we started focusing on the gun itself, using the sights. And when you're using iron sights on a handgun, you have to get the rear sight in focus, get the front sight, make sure that that's good, make sure the target's good. So you're constantly switching focal planes between the rear sight, front sight, and target. That's 3 different focal planes, and your eyes do that pretty subconsciously normally. But that's still time. That's still a mental calculation that's going on. Whereas with the red dot, you focus on the target the entire time, and you wait for the dot to appear on the target. But you're not focused on the dot. You're just focused on the target. So you are remaining threat focused. And I have noticed a difference myself using my shot timer coming from draw to first shot, from concealment. I am noticeably faster with the dot. It does make a difference. One of the big things that gets brought up is reliability, because optics can fail, and they can. You'll notice on this particular gun, I do have suppressor height sights. The 509 Tactical comes that way from the factory, and believe it or not, I can actually get a sight picture using the iron sights just over the body of this optic. So should the optic fail, I can still get an iron sight picture through there. One thing I want to talk about is realistic expectations. If you are law enforcement or military, your optic may indeed get broken just in the course of carrying it. As a concealed carrier, how likely is it that this would suffer catastrophic damage without you noticing before you put that gun on for the day? Not likely, right? So the Holosuns have a solar panel on top, which is really cool. It's a dual power source. It helps preserve the battery life. You're supposed to get about 50,000 hours of battery life. So changing the battery out once a year, you should be good to go. So that's not really something I'm concerned about. My biggest concern would be something happening to the lens. The lenses are surprisingly durable, and on Sage Dynamics channel, he puts them through all sorts of testing, and they hold up pretty well. The Holosuns, the Trijicons, even the Delta Point Pros to some extent. So I think a lot of that is just misbased paranoia, I should say. These things are surprisingly durable. I've carried this one, I've put it through its paces, I've done one-handed manipulations using the optic. Sometimes it's not something I do a whole lot, but I do occasionally. And it's held up just fine. It hasn't lost zero. And a lot of the optic maintaining zero is going to come down to the mounting system. So you really have 3 main options for mounting a red dot. You could get a gun that's already set up to be optics ready, like the 509 Tactical. It has a cutout and various adapters to allow you to run various optics on it. You could get a dovetail adapter, which I did for a little while on my CZP01 Urban Gray. I'll drop a link to that video in the description. Basically, the rear sight comes out and there's an adapter plate that goes in the dovetail, and you mount your optic to that. That's not super great because obviously you lose your rear sight. More importantly, it has that optic higher off the bore of the weapon, which is going to limit you somewhat on distance and sight in and things like that. But that is an option. And the other one that was really popular for a while until we started seeing an abundance of optics ready handguns come out was to have the slide milled. A machinist or a company that specializes in it would actually machine out a spot for the optic to sit. Now, in the long run, that's probably going to be the most stable and secure way of mounting an optic. Like if you know you're just going to run a Holosun 507C, which coincidentally has the same footprint as a Trijicon RMR, then that may be the way to go for you, especially if your gun is not optics ready from the get-go. But then you are married to that footprint for that style optic, or in the case of the Holosun, the RMR as well. So there is that to consider. With all the optics ready guns coming out right now though, if you are wanting to try something like this out and you're in the market for a new gun, it may be the way to go. And guns like the FN 509 Tactical, and I think most guns, have a plate that goes over this cutout. If you don't want to run an optic, that is an option to put the plate over there. I'll actually drop a picture. And that's how the gun came factory. So you can have the gun that is optics ready without an optic on it. So you guys know I gave this 509 Tactical, if you haven't seen the full review, again, link in the description if I didn't already say that. I gave this one pretty glowing review just because of how much you can do with it. So there is that. Guys, drop your thoughts on miniature red dot sights or micro red dot sights in the comments and let me know what you think about them. And if you have one, which one you swear by, and if you carry one, which one you carry. Look forward to hearing from you guys. Stay safe, keep shooting. I'll see you next time.